for you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center. Thank you, Tim, Kathy, music team. Set a pretty high standard for us there, didn't you? Well, we continue on our back to basics as we look at the 5 basic unity principles, exploring what unity is. What does unity believe? What do we state as our belief system? What are the parameters in which we explore who we are? And so the first week, we looked at our first unity principle, which we state every single week. There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. And the children's version is simply, God is. And then the following week, we looked at the second unity principle. The essence, our essence is of God. Our very essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. And the children's version is simply, I am. And so today we explore the third of the unity principles. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking, or we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. And the children's version, I create. I create. In unity, we explore this positive, creative energy of our thoughts. Called it the law of mind. Thank you so much. We call it's Kathy's fault. We call it the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind create after their kind. Those thoughts which we hold create our experiences in our world. And so we take personal responsibility to hold thoughts that are life-affirming, that are positive, that affirm who we are as individuals and affirm our world. We take the responsibility to do that, to do it through our thoughts, through our words, both spoken and written, and through our actions. In our last class of Absolute Abundance, we had over 20 people complete that course, 10-week class. And towards the end of the class, every individual created a vision map, a vision board, sometimes called a treasure map, where you cut out pictures and words. And sometimes people say, well, that's not a good thing because you're putting on there possessions that you want, cars and houses and whatever it might be. And yes, some of those things may be that which we're holding that we would like to manifest in the world. But we've also learned that we can cut out pictures of words that say harmony and peace and love, pictures of sunsets, trees, our favorite animals, our favorite flowers, so that we're creating an energy that we want in our world, or want more of in our world. We're being clear about that which we want to experience in our world. And clarity is so important in this law of mind action, to know what it is that we want so we can tell the universe, so that we can share that in our thoughts, our words, and our actions, and not do it by default. So often we live this life by default. Whatever happens, happens, and we just don't put a lot of thought to it. But as Unity students, we know the power of thought. We turn to Proverbs this morning. the 23rd chapter, the 7th verse. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. For as he thinks in his heart, for as he or she thinks in their heart, so are they. And this is cautionary, to not necessarily regard who a man or a woman is by what they say, but by what they do. How we live in this world, how we treat one another, how we act, reflect our beliefs. It's not what we say or what we think intellectually. It's what we do in this world. It's what we do in this world. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement, in this little book, Teach Us to Pray, states, the same thought stuff that God used to create man is accessible to man at all times and in all places. In fact, we are using this all-potential thought stuff with every mental concept. With every mental concept, we are using this same thought stuff to create the experience of our world. And sometimes we say things by habit, or we say things just because we've heard them without giving a lot of thought to what they mean. You know, I'm guilty of saying, oh, my back's killing me. Is that really something we want to put out there? No, not really. And my mom has this saying. My mother will be 95 years old next month. And she has this saying, well, with the luck of our family. And then she'll go on to say whatever it is. And I have rebelled against this from the time I've been old enough to understand what she was saying. Now, not outwardly, because remember, I'm the good kid. So if you ever meet my mom, you can't tell her that. But I rebelled. I've always rebelled against it because there was something within me that just said no. I would think, well, what's wrong with our family? You know, we all have a place to live. We have enough to eat. Most of us feel loved. And then only recently, I've come to look at this through my mother's eyes and have much more empathy for her. She lived during the time of the Depression. Her family would move if the rent was $5 cheaper on the next block. She moved around a lot as a kid. Both she and my dad came from families that drank way too much. My grandmother said the only reason they weren't alcoholics was they didn't have that much money. They both, of my parents, had siblings that were alcoholics. They saw my sister struggle. They've seen my son struggle with addictions. My mother lost her only son at the age of 12 when he was in surgery for a heart condition that today would be a very simple fix, but back then was not. She lost my dad, her husband, when he was only 75, and last year my sister before she was even 60. Far too young. I cannot affirm that. That is not for me. That is not my life's path. I say with the luck of this family, good things are going to continue to happen. That's the space I must come from because I know the power of thought. I know the power of the words I speak, the way I act in this world. When I first moved here and I had, and still have, grand ideas for some of the things we're going to do and that we have done already, some people, well-meaning, would say, it's Key West. It's Key West and people just don't commit or, they're always going to be late. And I go, it's Key West. Anything is possible. I mean, right, of all places, this is the space that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And so we reframe those thoughts. We reframe those thoughts into life-affirming. It's Henry Ford who's noted for saying, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's how we hold it. It's what we decide ahead of time about it. To create in our world is truly as simple as A, B, and C. The first thing is to ask, and that's where the clarity comes in. What is it that I want in this world? To ask, to know, to be clear And then to believe, believe. Believe that you are worthy. Believe that you have a right to all the goodness in the world, all the happiness, all the prosperity. Believe it. And then C, collect it. And that's an action word. You have to step forward. You have to take action, moving, taking steps towards that which you want. So I have a short story about that. It's a true story. It's about Adam and Eve. So Adam's working on a project, and he has to go to Home Depot to get some supplies. That's where the true part comes in. And he's thinking, boy, it'd be really good if I could park close to the door because I have got a lot of things I have to buy. So he's envisioning this parking place close to the front. He's feeling, what would that be like if there was a parking place right there? He pulls up, sure enough, there's a parking place. He cannot wait to get back to the garden and tell Eve all about this. So he goes back to the garden. He says, Eve, you won't believe this. All you have to do is ask and then feel what it would be like to receive that, and it happens. She goes, whoa. I've got that extra 5 pounds. I've got that little bit of a muffin top over my fig leaf. So I'm going to think about what it would be like to lose that weight. Oh, to have that weight off of me. I can do that. I can feel that. So a few days later, Adam walks up and he sees that Eve has got her coconut shell and she's eating some Haagen-Dazs, and he knows what that means. So he tries to escape, back out of it, but it's too late. She sees him. So he says to Eve, so, something wrong? And she goes, I did what you said. I did what you said. I thought about it. I held it. I knew what it would be like to lose that 5 pounds, and nothing happened. Now, Adam was a wise man, and he knew his job was only to listen. But he realized that he'd forgotten a vital part of the step here. And he said, listen, this is my fault. This is my fault. See what a wise man he was. It's my fault. I forgot to tell you that you have to take action. You have to take steps towards that. And Eve got it right away. Zumba in the garden. Weight was gone. No problem. So we must take action towards that which we want. And what we need to be careful for ourselves and for others is to not fall into metaphysical malpractice by believing for ourselves or our friends or our family or the world that everything that happens in their lives they created through their thoughts. For that is not true. If we are all one, if we are all connected, if there's this universal consciousness, then we are also affected by race consciousness, by error thought, and things happen in our lives. Now, sometimes we can step back and go, well, I saw that coming, and I just opened the door and let it in. Yes, that's true. And things happen in our lives. How we create our experiences, what we do with it. When these things happen, how do we walk through it? How do we hold it? Do we hold it as, well, there's proof. I'm just not worthy. There's proof again. Or do we hold it as something to walk through and become stronger as proof of how strong we are, how much faith we have, how good we are? I'll share another story about 3 friends who went to college together, Maddie, Mary, and Molly. They decide they're going to get together. They haven't seen each other for a while. So they go on a retreat at a lodge, beautiful place on a lake. There's little cabins. They are each staying in a cabin. And to have their meals, they go to the main lodge. And there's a mascot. There's a mascot here, a little duck named Dolly, who likes to hang around by the lodge. So on this particular day, each one of the 3 arrives separately. There's Maddie. Maddie's a New York executive, and she always looks so put together. But they'd been swimming that morning. All she did was take a shower. She barely ran a comb through her hair, no makeup, took off to meet her friends for lunch. And here's Dolly the duck, quack, 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 quack. And she goes, I know I don't look my best. Really, I just threw this on. It doesn't even match. And I'm not even sure about these shoes. Oh, and she goes up the steps, and she feels scolded by the duck. Excuse me. Then there's Mary. Now, Mary got married right after college. She has 2 children under the age of 5. And she's frazzled, and she has been looking forward to this time. to be by herself and to be with her friends. So she gets to the lodge, and here's the duck. Quack, 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 quack. She goes, I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're asking for, but somebody else is going to have to give it to you. And she goes hopping up the stairs, and she feels good about herself because she just scolded that duck. And then there's Molly. Molly knows she's not as accomplished as Maddie. She's not as responsible as Mary. She's an artist. She's a musician, and she loves to sing, write her own music, play the guitar. She runs to the lodge, meet her friends, and here's Dolly the duck. Quack, 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 quack. Molly says, oh, Dolly, what a beautiful song you're singing for me. Thank you so much. And goes hopping up the stairs. The moral of the story is we all have ducks in our lives, don't we? We all have that quacking going on. We have bills to pay. We have unexpected expenses. We have cars, vehicles that break down. Here, bicycles with flat tires. We have relatives. We have illness, we have accidents, we have things that happen, situations that happen. We all have ducks in our lives. It's how we choose to hold them, what we decide to do with that determines our experience. It's not the fact the ducks are there, we all have them. It's how we hold them, how we walk through those experiences. We are each here to do amazing things in this world. We are each here to have clarity about what it is that we desire, to believe that we are children of God, that we can welcome into our experience all the goodness of the world, that we have a right to those things. We are not here to set the intention to live lives that are mediocre or mundane. We are here to lead lives that are life-affirming, that honor the divine that we are, that are exciting, that are energizing. You are here to do amazing things. And I thank you for allowing me to witness them. God bless you.